The sound that stopped everything was not the roar of engines or the clatter of metal. It was the look in the little boy's eyes. He stood barefoot at the edge of the highway, dust clinging to his knees, his shirt too thin for the evening chill. His lips moved in a whisper that barely carried over the wind, but the meaning hit harder than any scream ever could. In that single moment, something ancient and unbreakable stirred inside the bikers who had ruled the road with noise and leather and steel. Whatever plans they had, whatever rules they lived by, all of it fell away. Because when innocence meets cruelty, and someone chooses to notice, the world can change forever. Before the story continues, take a moment to pause. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that even the roughest souls can choose to do what is right, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. The bikers had been riding since dawn, a long line of machines cutting through the cracked asphalt like thunder on wheels. They were men and women shaped by hard lives, some with scars from prison, some from war, some from mistakes they could never fully undo. To the outside world they looked dangerous, like trouble waiting to happen. But beneath the patched jackets and weathered faces were people who understood pain in ways polite society never had. They rode together because the road did not judge them, and because brotherhood was sometimes the only family they had left. They were passing through a forgotten stretch of land, where abandoned gas stations leaned like tired old men and fences sagged under years of neglect. It was the kind of place where people disappeared quietly, where no one asked questions because no one stayed long enough to care. The sun was dipping low, painting everything in golden shadow, when the boy appeared from behind a rusted sign, his small frame trembling as if the earth itself scared him. The leader of the group was a man named Jack, though few knew his real name anymore. His beard was streaked with gray, his eyes permanently narrowed from years of watching his back. He had lost a daughter once, lost her not to death, but to a system that promised help and delivered silence. He never spoke of it, but the loss lived in him, shaping the way he saw the world. When his bike slowed without him even realizing it, the others followed, engines quieting one by one until the road fell into an unnatural stillness. The boy stood frozen, unsure if he had made a terrible mistake approaching these strangers. His hands were clenched so tightly that his knuckles had gone white, and his eyes darted between the towering figures dismounting their bikes. He looked like someone who had learned early that adults were not always safe. His voice, when he tried to explain, cracked under the weight of fear and exhaustion. He had been running for hours, hiding whenever he heard vehicles, surviving on nothing but adrenaline and the stubborn hope that someone, somewhere would listen. What he shared was not a story polished by time or logic. It came out in fragments, tangled and raw. A sister, older but still young, a place near the old quarry, men who were not kind, a van, a promise of candy that turned into something darker. He did not know words like trafficking or abduction. He only knew that the person who held his hand at night was gone, and that the world suddenly felt too big and too cruel. The bikers exchanged looks heavy with understanding. They had all seen evil in different forms, and they recognized it now. There was no debate, no weighing of risks. The road had taught them that hesitation could be fatal. They had ridden into storms and out of gunfire together. They were not about to ride away from this. One of them wrapped a jacket around the boy's shoulders, the leather warm and smelling faintly of fuel and rain. Another gave him water, steadying his shaking hands. Jack crouched down to the boy's level, his presence calm in a way that suggested he had faced fear before and survived it. Without prying, without pressure, he listened. And as he listened, a quiet fury settled over the group like a gathering cloud. They moved with purpose then. The boy was placed safely in the care of two riders who stayed back, while the rest followed the directions toward the quarry. The road there was barely a road at all, more a scar through dirt and rock. The engines growled low, controlled, like predators stalking prey. The sun had nearly vanished, leaving the world painted in blue and black. The place matched the boy's broken description too well. A chain-link fence patched with tarps, a single light burning where no light should be. A van parked crookedly, its paint dull and unremarkable, as if trying not to be remembered. Jack felt his chest tighten, memories pressing in, his own failure, his own loss. He pushed them aside. This was not about the past. This was about now. They did not charge in recklessly. Experience had taught them patience. They circled, observed, waited for the moment when action would matter most. When they moved, it was swift and overwhelming. Engines roared back to life, headlights flooding the darkness, turning shadows into nowhere places to hide. The men who had thought themselves untouchable panicked. They had not expected witnesses, let alone this. The bikers did not come seeking vengeance. They came to stop something that should never have been allowed to begin. Authorities were called, evidence secured, the situation contained before it could spiral into something irreversible. When the dust settled, a girl was found alive, shaken but breathing, her eyes wide with disbelief as she was wrapped in a blanket and carried away from the nightmare. Back on the roadside, the boy waited, curled into himself, fear battling hope in his small chest. When he saw his sister again, the sound he made was not quite a cry, not quite a laugh, but something in between, a sound of release, of survival. Jack turned away then, giving them privacy, blinking hard against the sting behind his eyes. Some wounds never fully heal, but sometimes you get to stop someone else from carrying them forever. The authorities arrived and questions followed, and paperwork threatened to stretch the night into morning. The bikers stayed until they were no longer needed. They did not seek thanks or recognition. They knew how stories like this often went. Heroes misjudged, intentions questioned. But the boy's sister held her brother's hand tightly, and that was enough. As the engine started once more, the boy ran up, the leather jacket still hanging off his small shoulders. He did not know how to express gratitude in words adults used. He only knew how to hold on, how to look at Jack with eyes full of something like trust. Jack nodded once, a silent promise that some people would always stop. The road stretched ahead again, indifferent and endless. But something had shifted. The bikers rode differently that night, closer together, as if guarding an invisible flame. They knew the world was still broken, still dangerous. But they also knew that for one family, one terrible story had been interrupted before it could become a lifelong scar. Years later, the boy would grow up remembering the sound of engines not as a threat, but as a miracle. The sister would go on to reclaim her life piece by piece, carrying with her the knowledge that strangers had chosen courage over comfort. And Jack would ride on. The memory of that night riding with him, a reminder that redemption does not always come as forgiveness. Sometimes it comes as action. If this story has touched your heart, if it reminded you that humanity can still show up in unexpected ways, please take a moment to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps these stories reach people who need them most. And before the ending, we have one special request. Please comment below with a single word that represents hope to you. Let's fill the comments with light, because somewhere, right now, a frightened child may be waiting on the side of a dark road, hoping someone will stop, and sometimes, all it takes to change everything is the decision not to ride past.